Okay, good evening and welcome to Yeshiva of Iyun Benzion. Tonight we're going to deal with the fundamental nature of a Nazir. I've tried discussing this numerous amount of time, where the word actually comes from, the source of the word, and what the basis, what does the Torah really think about a Nazir. And it's going to be a machlokas, Rabbanan and Rebbe Lezer. There's three places they have a machlokas, and I think they're all connected. And with that, I will try to explain what the Torah thinks of a Nazir now, and what the Torah thinks of the Nazir most of Mashiach. Because Rebbe Lezer, it's really Rebbe Lezer and the Chum. Rebbe Lezer, the Gemara says, Tosa says numerous times, is Shmusi. He was a Talmud of Beis Shammai. And therefore, the Medrash says that in most of Mashiach, we're going to pass him like Beis Shammai. So nowadays, we pass him like Rabbanan, but eventually we're going to pass him like Lezer, and you'll understand this more in a second and how it relates to the concept of Nazir. So the Mishnah, in the beginning of the seventh parak, Daf Mem Zayin and Aleph, has a machlokas. A Nazir and a Kohen Gadol are walking on the way, and they see a Meis Mitzvah. Now, a Nazir and Kohen Gadol are allowed to be Matame the Meis Mitzvah. But however, you have both of them, so one of them doesn't have to become Tameh. So which one defiles himself, which one doesn't? Lezer says Yitame Kohen. He says the Kohen Gadol should become Tameh. The Nazir, leave him alone. Let the Nazir keep his condition of not becoming Tameh. Why? Because he has to bring karbanos. We know his tumah is more severe. Not only does he violate a law, he gets lashes if he becomes tummy. He also has to bring karbanos. He has to bring an ashram and a chatas and olah. He has to get atonement for that. Kohen Gadol, if he becomes tummy, gets lashes, perhaps, nothing more, no karbanos. The Chachamim say that if you have a Nazir and Kohen Gadol, not even Nazir and Kohen Gadol, even if it's Nazir and Kohen Hedyot, you let the Nazir become Tameh because the Kohen's Kedusha, even a Kohen Hedyot, is Kedusha Olam. It's forever. A Nazir is only Kadosh, potentially, for a certain amount of time. So what is the machlokas? What's the foundation of this machlokas? Obviously, the reason Rebbe Lezer says is because, right, he says because he brings a korban al tumaso, right, and the korban says Kedusha Olam. But what fundamentally are arguing about? I'd like to connect this machlokas back to the machlokas we had yesterday's daf, and the daf before that, where there's a fundamental machlokas at the end of the Naziros. What signifies the end of the Naziros? Talking about this today also. Is one act bringing one korban? Any act you bring, any korban you bring ends your Naziros, right? One kosher korban ends your Naziros. So you have to do all the procedures. Bring 3 korbanos. You have to cut your hair and also put your hair underneath the fire of the shlomim. You have to do all those things. That's what Rebbe Lezer holds. Until you do all those things, your Naziros is not over. And the Chachamim say no. Even one act is good enough to end your Naziros. So the third machlokas, if you become tameh after 100 days in Naziros, but you didn't do anything, but you filled 100 days, you didn't bring any korban. So Rebbe Lezer says, interestingly enough, that you're only soser zayin yavim. You just have to become tar. So according to the Chachamim, you have to soser sakol. You have to actually start counting a new Naziros, 100 days. So those 3 machlokasim, Rebbe Lezer and the Chachamim, Rebbe Lezer happens to be a shmusi. I'd like to explain as following: what does the word Nazir mean? The word Nazir. I think the Ibn Ezra on the Torah says Nazir is from Lashon Nezer, a crown. It's a crown that you put on your head. A crown, something that a king does. Obviously, it's something very dignified, something very good, a mitzvah even. Nazir is a mitzvah, right? It's a mitzvah. What is the nature of the mitzvah? Why is it a good thing? Even though Rezra Kappa says it's bad to abstain from wine, right? You shouldn't abstain, and the Torah gave you enough yisroel, and why should you abstain from something which is permitted? Certain circumstances in this world, the Rabbanan hold in this world. This is, I believe, with the Shita of the Rabbanan, that Nazir comes to the word Nezer, right? A crown on your head, because, listen, the Yetzer Hara is very difficult in this world, and even though the Torah doesn't believe you should abstain from the pleasures of this world, if you just run amok and indulge yourself in every pleasure in this world, you're never going to gain control over your Yetzer Hara. There has to be a certain amount of time in your life where you abstain a little bit. No one can make the proper calculations 100%. So you abstain for a certain amount of time. And Nazir is for a certain amount of time, 30 days, 100 days, whatever it is. And that's a mitzvah. That's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to do that. If you're wearing a crown on your head, that you're able to do that. It's a pella. Ibn Ezra says, Kiafli, it's pella, Ibn Ezra says, it's a wonderful thing that he's doing. And we pass on the Rabbanan in this time, it's very difficult. And that's why the Rabbanan say that really you're not doing an Avera when you become a Nazir. Right? That's why they say that even or you could bring any of the Komanos first. Technically, I think we pass can bring the Shlomim first. So, and the Shlomim, that's ending your Naziros. You don't have to bring a Korban Chata. There is a Korban Chata that's ending your Naziros. Chatas, you did some sort of sin. But technically, the Naziros is over. Wants to bring a Shlomim. Why? Because you didn't really sin. Now, of course, the Rabbanan say you do bring a Chata. You're supposed to bring all 3 Korbanos. There is an element of sin, because technically the the nature of the Torah doesn't want you to abstain from things, but the Torah recognizes that sometimes you have to, hold yourself back in order to control yourself. So for a certain amount of time, it's good. So there's an element of an Avera, but it's sort of a mitzvah of Avera, but it's not a real mitzvah of Avera. It's a mitzvah. It's a Torah encourages you to do it for a certain amount of time. Do it. Bring the Korban Chatas to the end, but something you had to do it, but so bring Korban Chatas. But technically, you bring the Shlomim, it's over. The Naziris is over. It's not an angel of Kapara. Like we said, Mechusrek, it's not Mechusrek Kapara. The Kohanas are not Mechusrek Kapara, not for Kapara. There's an element of you did something wrong, but but you had to do something. The Torah recognizes sometimes you have to do that. You have to make boundaries for yourself. According to Rebbe Lezer believes that Naziris comes from, I think, from the word Nazareth, right? Nazareth is the place where Yeshua or Jesus comes from. The whole concept of Naziris is an Avera. It's a big Avera. The whole idea of Naziris, to abstain from the world, is like Christianity. That's what Christianity believes. They believe in original sin. They believe, that enjoying this world is an Avera inherently. So, the best is to be the Pope or a bishop or a cardinal, that they, have celibacy and things like that. So it's inherently an Avera. According to the Torah, Judaism doesn't believe in that. So therefore, anytime you become Nazir, it's an Avera. And like Rezer Kapper says, Shana B'chet, right? Not only do you abstain from wine, but, right, it says when you become Tameh also, it's a second sin you did. What's the second sin you did? Because not only, right, that's why, according to Lezer, you have to bring a Chata, so you have to bring all three karbanos. You have to do the entire procedure. Because it's Mechusrei Kapara. You need Kapara for the Avera you did. Now, we happen to paskin, Lezer probably said it even for nowadays, but we pass on the Lezer in the Moshe Mashiach, when Mashiach will guide us and tell us, will steer us clear and show us where the Yetzer Hara is telling us to make a mistake and not. So there'll be more clarity. So you don't need to make as many boundaries anymore, and we could just do the Torah as we're supposed to do. We'll uncover the secrets of the Torah. So therefore, we don't need to make boundaries anymore. So therefore, Lezer says, maybe Lezer only talk about Moshe Mashiach. And that time, it's the Christianity. The real purpose of the Torah is to enjoy this world. So it's Christianity. It's a big Avera to do this. So you bring all the karbanos. And that's why he says after you finish 100 days and you become Tameh, it's a bad thing. Don't go on. Just become Tahor and finish your Nazir. It's a terrible thing being a Nazir. It comes from Nazareth. That's where the word comes from, Nazir. And that's why he says you have to bring all three karbanos. You have to bring the chatas. That's in Tekel. Is you need kapara over here. All right. And the third thing is this Mishnah over here. Right. The Nazir, Rabbi Lezer says that it's worse. The Nazir should become Tameh because the Nazir, like Rabbi Lezer Kapper said, Shana B'chet, it's a really bad thing, because not only is the whole concept of Nazir is a bad thing to abstain from this world, but also you don't even keep your word. That's like a double negative, because you took upon yourself things you weren't supposed to ask yourself in. And then, on top of that, you didn't even keep your word. You're not even a man of your word. You said, I'm going to abstain, not going to drink wine, I'm not going to become a Tameh until a Mason, and then you become in contact with corpse, Tuma. So you didn't keep your word, so it's a double sin. So that's why he says, let the Kohen Gadol do it. The Nazir, it's such a bad Avera. The whole concept of Nazir is a terrible Avera, and you're adding on to it, but not even keeping your word. So that's why the Kohen Gadol goes first. He's been Tameh the Mason, not the Nazir, because the Nazir, at least you could do is keep your word, because that's what Hashem wants. He wants people to keep their word. So, but that's at the heart of this machlokas in the rest of the Chachamim. We pass on the Lezer. Maybe Lezer only said it. Most of Mashiach were clear. Then the whole concept is an Avera. But nowadays, it's a mitzvah. It's an element of Avera, but it's still a mitzvah to set boundaries for yourself. Hope you enjoyed tonight's share. See you in the next one.